Your news for the state of Tennessee in about 10 minutes. Tennessee in 10 starts now.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Amanda Hara. 84 people have been arrested in immigration operations in Nashville since Saturday. Federal authorities say one of those people is a member of a violent gang. And now look at this. New video shows what happened when drivers were pulled over by state police and then questioned by ICE. At first, each encounter had all the signs of a typical traffic stop. This driver was pulled over by THP, but only spoke to the trooper for 48 seconds. Then ICE agents questioned him about his immigration status for about 7 minutes.
The reason I was stopping you is for speeding.
So I'm an officer with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So where were you born? How long have you lived in the U.S.? Like, you have papers to be here?
Well, this particular stop did not lead to an arrest, but the Department of Homeland Security says a member of a violent Venezuelan gang, a child sex predator, and others with drug charges are among those who are now in custody. Governor Bill Lee says that ICE reached out to Highway Patrol before the operation. Nashville's mayor says the city did not get the same heads up. Governor Lee says he supports the enforcement.
As we've said from the beginning, we want to be a willing partner with the federal government to remove criminals from our streets, and to the degree that they, that they have an action, then we want to be a part of that. President Trump was very clear that he was going to work to remove those folks from our country. Americans elected him to do that, and this ICE activity that's happening and that has happened in Nashville is exactly what that's about.
Operations expected to continue today in the murder trial for 3 former Memphis police officers charged in the beating death of Tyree Nichols. Now, deliberations began yesterday after closing arguments. The men on trial, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, and Tadarius Bean, they face several charges, including second-degree murder. The jury, brought in from Hamilton County and the Chattanooga area, could choose to convict on lesser charges, such as negligent homicide.
Well, this morning, a judge will decide if the federal corruption trial against Glenn Cassida and Cade Cothran can move forward. It could potentially be headed towards a mistrial. Cassida is the former Speaker of the House. Cothran was his chief of staff. Both men face 19 counts of conspiracy, bribery, fraud, and money laundering. Earlier this week, the jury heard parts of a 2021 interview between Cassida and the FBI. Parts of that interview were supposed to be redacted, but they weren't. So defense lawyers say that may be grounds for a mistrial. A former Metro officer now charged with leaking the Covenant school shooter's writings. Garrett Davidson is accused of leaking documents to a Tennessee media outlet that later published them. The TBI says this happened months after the Covenant school shooting, where 3 students and 3 adults were killed. He's now in jail on a $150,000 bond.
Some parents and elected officials in Blount County are demanding change. This is in response to the sentencing of a former Blount County teacher. Joseph Dalton was sentenced to 6 months of probation for assaulting students. He pleaded guilty to a Class B misdemeanor. The maximum punishment is 6 months, with no distinction between touching a minor versus an adult. Blount County Commission Chairman Jared Anderson is one of the officials pushing for change. He's introducing a resolution to send to state lawmakers.
It felt like it needed to be a separate offense when the physical contact is with a child, and it needs to have a more serious penalty.
Anderson's resolution asks state lawmakers to consider legislation for offenders to automatically lose their license and create a transparent database for all schools in the state to track staff disciplinary records across districts.
2 people are dead and 3 others are hurt after a shooting outside a bar in Memphis. The shooting happened around 2 a.m. Tuesday morning. Memphis police say the shooting stemmed from a fight which spilled into a parking lot.
First Alert meteorologist Stefano DiPietro here with a look at the forecast where you live, Stefano.
And we do have a First Alert weather day that has been issued for tomorrow. The risk of a couple of strong thunderstorms across the state. Now, this is a low-end threat as of now. 1 out of 5 on that scale. It includes most of the state with the exception of far northern Tennessee at this point. So this would be for the afternoon and heading into the evening. Storm threats mainly going to be gusty wind, heavier rainfall, could even be some hail in the strongest thunderstorms. The tornado threat very, very low. I will say it is pretty close to zero. Today, light scattered rain showers will continue off and on through this morning into the afternoon with some good dry breaks in there, but just do yourself a favor and keep the umbrella handy. A little rain overnight tonight, perhaps a rumble of thunder in 1 or 2 spots. And I do think most of us wake up dry tomorrow with maybe just a little bit of a drizzle. It'll be as we get some daytime heating that, yeah, we get a better scattering of showers and thunderstorms heading into our Thursday afternoon and evening. That is where the risk of strong thunderstorms is going to come from. Again, no tornado threat. Another day to keep the umbrella handy and be prepared for some issues for the commute home tomorrow, Amanda.
Police say a pedestrian was hit after a car drove into a home on Holston Drive. Officials say the injuries are not life-threatening and people were inside the home, but they were not hurt. Police say that crash happened when the driver's foot got stuck on the gas pedal and he was unable to stop the car.
A new study finds Tennessee is one of the top states that could see impacts from tariffs. Tennessee ranked 4th overall because Chinese imports represent 22% of Tennessee's gross domestic product. That is among the highest of all the states. The study found Montana, Alaska, and Wyoming to be the least reliant states. Researchers say it's the rural and resource-driven economies that will be more insulated from those tariffs. Vanderbilt University Medical Center eliminating positions because of federal funding cuts. The hospital system says it's also pausing hiring for most research and administrative positions. But the hospital said it will fill positions to staff its new wing, which opens in October. VUMC also cutting its research budget by $250 million. The University of Tennessee has lost more than $37 million in federal restructuring. 42 grants have been cut. Most of that money was headed to UT's Institute of Agriculture, which is Tennessee's largest industry. It accounts for almost 400,000 jobs in the volunteer state and contributes to nearly $1 billion towards the state's economy every year. The federal government also issued nearly 24 stop work orders to end certain projects that the university was working on. Well, President Trump has announced his first wave of federal judicial nominees. One of them is from Tennessee. If confirmed, Whitney Hermendorfer will serve as judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 6th Circuit. Right now, she's the director of the Strategic Litigation Unit at the Tennessee Attorney General's Office. Thanks for watching Tennessee.